Hello, I'm the Angry Spork, taking issue with Superman for all seasons. Last week saw young Clark Kent's powers manifesting with gusto, from breaking scissors with his hair to flying through a tornado to save a neighbor's life. The humble farm boy decided he wanted to use his powers for a greater good, and later showed up in Metropolis decked out in red and blue. Seasons have changed, and now it's summer. And yes, this is my beach-going attire. What, you thought I'd go shirtless? No one wants to see that. You sick monkeys. Chapter 2's cover, similar to last week's, has Soups flying ahead, this time above Metropolis. Again, with a very serious look on his face. Why is he so grouchy? Is he hearing people make fun of his suit? Don't listen to them, Clark. The outer trunks bring a needed color balance to a classic look, as opposed to the faux armor onesie they'd have you wear in 2011. We have a new narrator for this one, Lois Lane, who begins by recalling Perry White's 3 rules for a reporter to live by. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see, and everything you write. As well as 3/4 of what you smell. As much as she likes these guidelines, they've recently fallen under the category BS. As in, before Superman, currently flying through the skies. Good morning, Metropolis. Bring out your dead! Another periodical, The Star, attempted to coin the Metropolis Marvel. Jimmy Olsen suggested Mighty Man, while Lois wanted to call him Too Good to Be True, but she was the first to call him Superman. It wasn't easy coming up with a name for someone who shouldn't exist. Oh, really? Forzelbop. There, nothing to it. He flies, he can see through walls, he can lift up cars or bounce bullets off his chest, or do just about anything he wants to. Shoot tiny clones of himself from his fingers, mold his face to look different, repair a massive stone wall just by looking at it. Lane asks if he can do anything he wants, why does he choose to be a hero? For example, stopping this very reflective warhead before it can hit the city, and sending it into space. She writes all the time about how humans deceive, harm, and brutalize each other, yet here's this guy sticking his neck out for others. The nuke detonates, and our hero is none the worse for wear, turning back to the Earth and smiling, as Lois goes on that it's as if he knows if they've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. And I'm sorry, I've been a reporter too long to start believing in Santa Claus. Not after the Easter Bunny's tell-all hit the shelves. He returns to terra firma and goes underwater, within the vicinity of a LexCorp ship, which is probably why an assistant to a certain businessman gives him some new information, and Lex adjourns the meeting he's in. But hey, this could all be purely coincidental. Superman has located the source of that missile, a submarine, stopping it in its watery tracks while its captain orders everyone to stay at their post, lest they be shot for desertion. That's also how he got people to sign up for the company's softball team. Luthor arrives at the Metropolis airbase, which is restricted, but of course it's estimated by Lois and Jimmy one night when they were bored, he makes $150 a second. So maybe that has something to do with him being let in.
The poor man's version of me. Which, to be fair, still makes him insanely rich.
Soldiers gather as Soups has brought the enemy sub, warning them to stay back so no one gets hurt. He then rips the hull like cheap tissue paper so the terrorists can surrender to the general on site and his men. Lex feels the need to chime in, maybe because he wants attention by insinuating the Boy Scout was grandstanding and leaving the vessel to be cleaned up at taxpayer expense. And look at Soups' reply. It's got fangs! His word bubble has fangs! They're interrupted by the captain, having taken a stowaway Lois hostage.
We're the news media, for crying out loud. Who'd want to hurt us?
He accuses Superman of being an American imperialist, tipping the balance of power too far to one side. And even with a gun to her face, Lois would rather he just shut up already. Lex tries to play master negotiator, but he doesn't even finish the word terrorist before Soups takes the weapon and crushes it, leaving Lois free to incapacitate the villain herself.
Daddy was a black belt.
And thank you, Miss Lane. Not sure why it looks like he's trying to do a David Spade-style smirk here. Maybe he got finished marathoning seasons 9 through 14 of Saturday Night Live, and it left an impact on him. Luthor offers to give Lane a ride to the planet so she can start her story, but with her deadline, she'd prefer to fly the super-powered skies. Soups agrees, but lets the businessman know that components of the sub and that nuclear missile were made by LexCorp, and warns him if it turns out he had any more direct hand in today's events. Luthor gets indignant at what he calls slander and false accusation, but snubbing him once again, Cal doesn't wait for him to finish before taking his leave with the reporter. A short time later, Lane is dropped off at the Daily Planet and offers some advice. As much as people adore Big Blue, nobody talks to Lex the way he did. The hero suggests it's about time someone did, then flies off, wishing her luck on her story.
Damn you. No one offers niceties for my work and gets away with it. I'm forming the Superman Revenge Squad.
No, this is probably just her conflicted feelings that he may well be as good as he presents, and wears a cape without looking ridiculous. Taking the elevator to her workstation, she passes Clark Kent leaving the supply room, who asks if there's anything he should know, and how she got aboard that submarine. This seems to flummox our intrepid reporter for a moment, but you wouldn't know it by the next panel, where she plays it expertly cool with her body language, saying everyone has their secrets, perhaps even the farm boy. I am not Superman, or are you crazy? Where'd you get that idea? We look nothing alike, and I've never even seen a nuclear missile. What were we talking about? Lois narrates that the problem with the Prince Charming fantasy is that it sets up an unattainable idea, since no man could live up to that standard. Until Superman, who, instead of riding a white horse and looking for slumbering princesses to kiss, brings groceries home to his apartment and mirrors the page from the previous chapter, him lying in his bed. There's a lot unknown about this man in tights. Where does he go when he's not saving the day or rescuing people? Maddening for a reporter. And for a woman, forget it. Maddening for a woman, but I'm enraged too. Clark had apparently offered his theory that Supes must have a fortress of solitude. Because I'm not Superman, that's why I know! She doesn't buy it because Kent starts his day with cornflakes.
Healthy eating habits, ew. Now, if he had Reese's Puffs, 7 Pop-Tarts, and 3 lattes for breakfast, then it would be a credible theory.
In Smallville, Jonathan is out in the fields of his farm when he hears Clark approaching, not just because he'd know his son's footsteps anywhere, but because mud on city shoes has its own sound. That cinches it. Jonathan Kent is Batman. Bruce Wayne has been a red herring this whole time. The pieces fit too well for it not to be true.
We're through the looking glass here, people.
They hug as Lois's narration wonders if this hideaway has a drawbridge. And maybe I suck at symbolism, but perhaps the farm is meant to be the fortress of solitude in this situation. After some idle chit-chat about big city air conditioning and the family dog getting on in years, Clark tells his parents he was feeling a little lonely, so his mom tells him he can stay as long as he needs. The next day, Lois wonders if Superman has a special someone, but totally doesn't care, while Clark heads over to the Lang house, finding Pastor Lindquist doing some lawn maintenance. The home is now empty, with Ruth having passed away and Lana leaving town around the same time as Clark, which led some townsfolk to assume that she ran off with him. And she must let the world continue to think that, until she can quell the raging beast that dwells within her. Truth is, Kent hasn't seen her in several years, and the pastor lets the young man know how proud the town is of his work at the Daily Planet. He later meets up with Pete Ross, who's gotten postcards from Lana from one place or another since she's always traveling. They enter the general store, Pete makes his customary wish on the elephant head, and they see some familiar faces playing the same card game. The two sit at the counter, get their usual drinks, and Pete reminds us he'd hoped to have been off to the big city and be filthy rich like Lex Luthor by now.
Say, you ever meet him?
Yes, he puts his pants on like everybody else, one leg at a time. It was a little weird how he demonstrated that at that environmental summit while the Dalai Lama was speaking, but hey, rich folk. That night, he's sitting with his ma, saying that despite the good he does, he feels out of place in Metropolis, and despite having thought that Smallville would always feel like home, now even it feels different. Martha kisses his forehead and says that's part of growing up. It's not always fun or easy, but he'll find his own way like always. We go to the last day of summer, past midnight, as Lois and Jimmy are sent to cover a fire at the relatively new Chemco Labs, which LexCorp has been rumored to want to purchase. Might have to knock a few bucks off for the fire damage. Lane discovered an environmental angle involved, but she knows Perry will want something sexy for the front page. Oak trees in bikinis. Then came the arrival of the Guardians of the City, either robots or men in armored power suits, to try drawing attention away from Superman. They help suppress the fire, save at least one kid, but Lane finds them too dull. No personality, no independence. Just there to do work that LexCorp will take credit for. Not sexy enough for anything better than page 9. Now, if the armored suits were wearing bikinis... Superman arrives, and one Guardian tells him it's all under control, everyone evacuated, and he should leave. So Clark just nudges him aside, several yards, and x-rays through the fire to find someone they missed, a woman passed out in one of the labs. He freezes an area around her, makes sure she's still alive, then flies her out wrapped in his cape, taking her to nearby paramedics to treat her smoke inhalation. This also gives Lois a human element for a guaranteed page 1. Telling Lex's tin soldiers to clear out, Supes declares he's about to extinguish the fire, which gives Lois her lead. This is a job for Superman, as he floats in a T-pose while drawing the flames to him and pulling them into the water? So, a job for Superman or Uncle Iroh, apparently. I'm certain this was supposed to be him spinning around to manipulate the fire into a kind of funnel or something, but it's not really shown that way. While that in and of itself may be physically dubious, it really feels more like Clark just learned firebending. While the crowd cheers, he starts lecturing the Guardians, how their carelessness almost cost a woman her life, and if it happens again, Lex will be held personally responsible. Again, the way he addresses them, they could be guys in power armor or purely robotic. It's just not very clear. Lois asks the scientist he rescued what she'd like to say to Superman, and her response becomes Lane's headline. He is my angel. It's only a coincidence that her favorite song is Angel by Shaggy featuring Rayvon. Sometime later, Lex has arrived at her apartment, wanting to talk to the gifted chemist, Miss Vaughn, about Superman. She's dreamed about her rescuer often since that night, and Luthor, basically letting himself in, says together they can help the Man of Steel. Turns out the young woman has adorned her walls with posters, banners, and equally flammable articles next to so many candles. Clearly, she's hoping to meet him again when her place inevitably catches on fire. Lois's narration closes out the chapter, saying that even though Superman flies in the face of Perry's 3 rules, she'll still sign her name to everything she writes as long as she believes it. A hero feeling isolated, a jaded reporter undecided if he's too good to be true, and a slighted egotistical billionaire with something up his well-tailored sleeve. Tune in next week to see if anything besides leaves fall. I'm the Angry Spork, and man, have I got issues.